Welcome to Resolving Reality. In this third video episode, I interview Dr. Stephen Baker, who is a chiropractor based in Meridian, Idaho. Visit Dr. Baker's website, drstephenbaker.com, and also check out his YouTube channel, and those links are down below in the description. Support independent Irish media by supporting Resolving Reality. Don't forget to like, comment, and share this video, and make sure you subscribe. For all our podcasts, articles, and video content, visit our website, resolvingreality.com. Okay, Dr. Baker, welcome to Resolving Reality.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having me.
No worries, my pleasure. I'm a fan of your YouTube videos, and I think they're very informative, very interesting, and it's a great time to be alive when you've got a message and you've got things you want to say. You can just get out there and create videos. And before we get right into the subject matter, which I'm very interested in health and all that stuff, let's start with the basics and kind of go over about yourself, your background, and kind of what kind of work you do.
I'm a chiropractor, and primarily, and ultimately the objective, the plan, the goal is very simple. Every single person alive should heal, should function at a high level. That's the way we're designed. And so all we have to do is remove the interference, whatever's keeping somebody from healing and getting better, meaning that whatever's causing any symptom, sickness, disease, or medication that they're dealing with. And I feel like I've been blessed to be able to make that very easy. It comes very easy for me to be able to sit down and talk to somebody and go, there it is, and know exactly what it is that's keeping them from getting over that hump towards health. Mm-hmm.
Oh, cool, great. And I hear as well in your videos. I know you're very passionate about what you do. And you not only talk about your line of work, but also bigger picture stuff almost. Like how the medical profession works in the States and all of that. And we can get back to that later. But just to start off as well with the whole chiropractic end of things. What does that work actually involve, and how does your daily routine go as a chiropractor?
The cool thing about chiropractic is also the pitfall of chiropractic, and that is that almost every chiropractor is different. It's like Forrest Gump says, it's like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're gonna get. But in my office, I think it's important that people receive x-rays. I'm not going to go to a mechanic without letting them open the hood. And I'm not going to tell you that your spine and your nervous system is delicate, important, controls everything, and not actually look further in depth into what's going on. So when somebody comes to my office as a new patient, their first visit, I sit down and do a consultation with them, figure out how they got to where they are, explain chiropractic to them, the above, down, inside out principle of healing, the fact that health comes from the inside, not the outside. We've already got everything we need within us. We just got to get rid of the interference, and how that connects to their nervous system. The fact that if they have something as simple but still complex as two vertebrae stuck and not moving properly, that is literally the root cause of the symptom. And then I do an exam on their spine and figure out where their spine is moving properly as opposed to where it's stuck and not moving. Mm-hmm. The area that's stuck is called a subluxation. And then I just simply poke at it a little bit and I go, how'd you find that? I'm like, see what I'm saying? That inflammation is accompanying the malfunction of the spine. And we connect the dots back to, that's why you have the headache, or that's why you have the heart issue or the digestive problem. And then beyond connecting the dots to what's already going on, I can show somebody, I believe, because of what I find with their spine, what would happen, whether it be a year or 15 years from now, if they didn't address that and fix it. So we can pretty much prevent health-related issues way down the road by finding a problem with the spine now. We then go into x-rays. The second visit, we take our patients through a very comprehensive, I guess you could call it kind of a physical therapy, but a spinal corrective program along with the adjustment, and then take an x-ray to see how their body's responding to the corrective care so we know what the potential is. On the third visit is where we sit down and we discuss everything in depth, and they learn more about chiropractic than they ever have, probably ever thought they would. And at that point, we look at x-rays. You look at your x-rays and I say, Emmett, what do you see? And ultimately, it's an empowering position for a patient to go, oh, wow, I see that, this, and this all makes sense to me. And then I ask a patient, what do you want to do? Because when somebody really understands the true cause of the problem, they almost always want to fix it. And so then we move forward with care, or they decide they don't want to continue in the office.
Oh, great! That's interesting, because I only knew a little bit about it, but it's great to hear how the whole kind of program works. And absolutely, you got to get to the core of things as well, because I'm sure, as you well know from watching your videos as well, that people are always looking for the quick fix that just gets rid of the symptom and what they can see on the surface. But everything has its underlying causes, doesn't it?
Yeah, I believe that that addressing cause, it transcends your health. I would argue that if I have marital problems, I need to figure out what's really causing it. If I have financial problems, I need to figure out what's really causing it before I could ever resolve issues in any of those areas.
Yeah, absolutely. And well, then how about we jump into one of the first videos I saw that you did was about the whole vaccine issue. Now, I know it's kind of a hot topic and it's been kind of dragging on for a while, but there's still this divisive views about it. And, I know that the States as well has a big vaccine industry, and, there's a lot of politics involved, money involved, etc., and a lot of the consequences. So how about we start with, the basics here? What does the medical profession say that vaccines actually do? What's the official line on them?
Well, my understanding is that the reason why the government and the CDC and medical doctors and pediatricians, the reason why they're ultimately wanting everybody to get vaccinated is because they truly believe that the vaccines are safe, that there's no harm in it, and ultimately it's protecting everybody from ever having to deal with any of these viruses. And so when you look at it at just that level, I mean, yeah, of course, who wouldn't want to vaccinate their child? It's safe and it protects them. As a parent, those are the two things I'm looking for: safety and protection. Mm-hmm. But obviously, there's a lot more to that, and I don't think that I can agree with a lot of the things that are said, because for me, a lot of it, if a man's job depends on saying one thing or not saying something, that's going to be what comes out of his mouth. And ultimately, if your paycheck is determined by whether you vaccinate or not, you're going to really go after and stand up for vaccinations.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Absolutely, and you touched on it there at the end. Once money gets involved, then the ethics can go out the window. Like it's a typical problem we have in the world with lots of things. But what are the main ones then that are used in the US? Then what are the main ones that are popular and that people are talking about right now?
Well, right now the biggest one is the MMR, the measles, mumps, and rubella, and there was an outbreak of measles in the state next to mine. So I don't know exactly how, I'm not very familiar with the size of Ireland or like how you guys divide areas, but ultimately the area where the outbreak is it right next to a pretty populated area. It's not that far from where I live. And I believe there's only been 36 people with measles. And they make it seem like Ebola and like all of a sudden there's this outbreak that people with skins falling off and they're going to just die once but in reality, it's a virus. It's like, oh my God, 36 people over there got the flu.
Yeah.
But if they can make it really scary and make it a big deal, well, then everybody's going to want to run to a vaccination. And we actually have, right now, we have moms that are freaking out because their children are too young, is what they're saying. They're too young for the vaccine, so they're worried about their lives. In reality, thank God they're too young for the vaccine.
Yeah. And a lot of it is about people's attitudes as well, and really the emotions are the key. So you mentioned it there that from a marketing point of view, if you're in the vaccine industry, of course you want to get that emotional response from people and make them concerned. Like you said, who doesn't want to look after their
Right.
kids? So that's how they do
actually
it.
have billboards, dude. You drive around and there's a billboard where it's like a mom holding a baby and she says, "I'm just being a good mom. I vaccinate." Or there's a father with a son, like passing down the world's greatest message: "Son, health comes from a needle."
Oh my God, that's really extreme, you know?
It is. And if I were to have a billboard that said, "Hey, there's a good chance the vaccine could make your child sick," people would be up in arms, dude. They would go crazy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's we don't have that here yet. You know, I know it's a bigger place there. You've got different culture and stuff. But here we don't really have the billboards and the big highways like you guys have. But I'm sure if they had those here, I'm sure they would use them. You know, we have the Health Service Executive of Ireland is really starting to move more commercial, and I'm sure they would do it here if they could.
What's the status quo when it comes to vaccines in Ireland? I mean, is everybody there? Because here, the way I see it is about, I would say 70% of people are absolutely, of course I vaccinate, like that's not the norm. Then you've got about 20% of people that are kind of, I don't really know. Maybe I'd want to do one or two, but I really want more information. And there's only 10% of us that actually see through the BS and don't do anything with it. So there's only 10% of us that are not, they're like, put a gun to my head before it happens kind of a thing. Where are you guys at with that in Ireland?
Yeah, we're kind of, well, it's kind of similar in a way. I'd say maybe it's not 10% here. Maybe it's more. I think probably because it's not as intense here. You know, it's just the country just isn't big enough. Like the population is like I think it's 6 million for the Republic and Northern Ireland, and it's a very small area. I'm sure you could fit it inside Idaho probably. You know, and it's not this few small cities, but you do get that distrust amongst certain members of the population, and it was the same in Australia when I lived there as well. Another Western country, you've got that distrust of the system, but it's not everybody. And I suppose it's kind of, you feel sorry for people who don't question what they're told, you know, but also you kind of can't blame them because, I don't know, people are living their lives, they're busy, you know, it's easy to be taken in by stuff. I'm sure you see that there. It can be so hard to resist what the official line is telling you and to make your own decisions, right?
Unfortunately, when I ask people, and I start with my patients because that's the most intimate conversation that I can have with somebody other than my family, is the people that I'm taking care of on a daily basis. And it's very, you know, I'm not pushing it on my patients. It's stuff on TV. They know where I stand on it. But if they want to vaccinate their child, it's not like, you know, I freak out or anything. But I just always ask them, which ones? And it's interesting which vaccine they usually think is the most important or the most crucial, the most safe, if you will. And some of them, I ask them, which ones do you think are safe? Which ones do you think are most important? And what problems do you know that are there? And they just kind of freeze. And then I'm like, you're telling me you're going to have a child and not know this? Because it's one thing to go, man, Dr. B, I did my research. I know about this. I've looked at the side effects. I chose to do this one, not this one because of this. This is the reason why I'm worried about this virus or this thing. And I go, cool, man, you're educated. Like, you did your homework. I support your decision as a parent. But if you're going to go, you're in trouble. And it's time for you to start taking control of your family and your family's health.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and especially because the most obvious thing about vaccines people forget about is that you think about your body is a certain way. It's designed or whatever to operate a certain way, and you've got your skin is a barrier. It's a natural barrier. And when you take a needle, you're literally bypassing all these layers of protection and going straight into the tissue and the bloodstream. You know, that's, your body isn't supposed to roll that way. I mean, all the gaps in your face, like your whole body, like your eyes and your mouth, or your nose, they have some sort of a system of a filter. But a vaccine bypasses all that, doesn't it?
Which is the reason why vaccines don't create real immunity. It's an artificial immunity. And so it's not even an immunity. It's called an antibody response. And so they're putting in an invader and your body goes, whoa, wait a second. What the hell is that? How did that get in here? And it activates a response. That's all that their research can show that they do, is activate an antibody response. And then they jump to, that must be creating immunity. No, it's not. So yes, you're completely right. If you bypass all natural barriers, that's not working out like it's supposed to, which they used to do the polio vaccine, which if we do want to step back and go, oh, okay, it's because of the vaccine, not sanitation, that polio was eradicated, even though it's still alive and well. If we want to go that route, then remember that they used to take the polio virus and put it in your mouth, because polio is a fecal oral disease, which means some form of feces in some manner from a person with polio has to somehow get into your mouth. So the only way to create real immunity was to put polio in a kid's mouth. Well, that created a bunch of horrible disease and paralyzed people and paralysis. So they go, oh, this isn't safe. Well, thanks for the newsflash. And so instead they decided to put something else in a needle, put it directly in the skin. Well, the reason why that won't work is because it's not the way it was designed to create immunity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it doesn't add up, when you look at the logic. And what's your experience then, before we move into the cancer kind of subtopic? What about your experience of working with kids who are vaccinated versus kids who are not? How do they kind of compare over the years?
People, I saw a great, I guess you'd call it a meme, but it's a picture, 6-7 pictures, and it's a child with asthma, with their inhaler. It's one with the eczema. It's one with an allergy or a rash. It's all this stuff. And at the bottom it says, my kid got vaccinated and they're fine. Oh, okay. And so people are there. The problem is, without their child going into an immediate state of paralysis, febrile seizures, or banging their head against the crib the same day as the vaccination, they're not making the connection, and they're not recognizing that they do have a vaccine damaged child. If I take my 2-month-old and I make he or she drink a shot of vodka, they are an alcohol damaged child, right? So it just is. And so allergies and asthma and autoimmune disease, all this different stuff that kids are having, which eczema is an autoimmune disease. So is allergies, so are asthma. That is from the vaccine. And so the number one thing that I see that, I take care of, right now we have about 285 active patients in the office. Active meaning they're consistently coming in on a weekly or at least minimum monthly basis. Of that, there's probably about 80 to 85 of them are kids. So it's about 1/3 pediatrics, if you will, under the age of 12 to 15. I have not, in my 9 years in practice, had any one of my patients that was non-vaccinated have an ear infection that was currently getting adjusted. If they're no longer under chiropractic care, yes, that may happen, but I've never had one that's consistently getting adjusted, non-vaccinated, have an ear infection. Every one of my patients that I take care of that have ear infections have been vaccinated up to that point. So that's one thing that I see as an absolute across the board, just comparison. The other thing is non-vaccinated kids, from my experience and what I see, they seem to connect with me better. So they're much more observant. They're looking at me like eye to eye. It's almost like we can communicate even though they're not talking. Whereas a vaccinated child will kind of lay there and they have that stare that kind of looks past you. And I don't see vaccinated kids talking and having the same type of verbal expression as soon as non-vaccinated kids.
Wow, that's fascinating to notice the kind of the differences between them, and as well as that, I mean, there's apparently there's all sorts of different ingredients that they put in there. You know, stuff that, of course, like you were saying, it's not natural to receive any substances, you know, going straight into the bloodstream. Never mind if it's things like heavy metals and other sort of thing, and even I believe genetic material and stuff like that. Is that true?
Yeah. And so that's a whole nother, even though I see right through all this stuff, right? And people can call me a conspiracy theorist or whatever they want, but I'm not beyond thinking that people will do anything to make money. That's basically the basis of my I don't trust you with the pharmacy and the doctors kind of, that's where it comes from. But when I found out that there was literally animal viruses, like viruses that are only supposed to be in an animal, now in humans, and were put there because of vaccinations, that was a wow factor for me. Like again, back to this natural barrier. If I go to a zoo and hang out with monkeys, I can stand next to a monkey that is very sick with the virus and dying, and that will not get to me because that just doesn't happen in nature. But if they take a piece of that monkey and grow the influenza virus or whatever on that monkey's tissue, and that monkey's virus is part of that, and they inject that into my body, then yes, I can develop a sickness or disease that would otherwise only have been in that monkey. That's called zoonosis, and that's jacked up, man. That is like the root of all evil. And then the fact that they know, this is not a secret. There are papers out there. There's research been done. I actually am friends with the PhD microbiologist that discovered this. And if she would have discovered anything else or discovered something of this magnitude in any other industry, she would be getting awards and prizes, and she would be forever known as the greatest scientist ever. Mm-hmm. But because she discovered this contamination in the vaccine industry, they buried her. They literally stripped her of her title, kicked her out of the National Cancer Institute after she'd helped thousands of people heal from AIDS, right? Which again was from monkeys and vaccines. They made her disappear because that information, if it's actually believed, because it's out there, but I'm just a conspiracy theorist for thinking that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, see, that's, well, first of all, you know, like you said, that the plot thickens. When you hear people having their careers destroyed, it means they're onto something, and they've obviously pissed someone off. And the first thing, what you said as well, what was the first thing you started off with? Oh, sorry, I forgot. I forgot where I was going with that one. But,
no, it's all good. Just the fact that a virus from an animal. I mean, we're talking about the ingredients in vaccines.
Yeah.
And yes, there's polysorbate 80, which is a detergent, so it can break through the blood-brain barrier. There's aborted fetus tissue. You talked about genetic material. There's aborted babies that are being used in vaccination. There's formaldehyde. There's all kinds of stuff. Mm. But outside of my dislike for abortion, the only other thing that's a bigger deal than that would be the fact that pieces of animals are being used, and I'm getting a virus from an animal that my body will not recognize immediately, which means that 5, 10, 15, 20 years later, I develop a disease that no man or hospital has ever heard of. Now we have to make a new name for it, and it falls under the category of autoimmune disease, which they cannot explain, and they blame on your body for attacking itself when that's the most idiotic thing I've ever heard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you did. You reminded me there what I was going to say. What's their excuse for? There's no possible justification for sticking an animal virus in a human injection, because like you said, you're never going to actually catch the thing. So of course you're going to start being suspicious and saying, what are these guys up to, kind of?
Well, they're doing it because they're using that medium, that animal part, whatever that is. I don't even understand that part. But they're using the animal to grow the virus. The virus has to have a host to grow and develop. But Dr. Judy, she told me that they do actually have the ability to pull that out before they put it into the final product, but it's very expensive. And if there's no backlash on me, why would I spend millions of dollars to make something safe?
Oh my God. It gets worse. And not only is it destructive, but it really stinks. Well, what about the whole cancer topic then? I know that's, it's amazing now, 2019, okay? I understand cancer pretty well. And there's a lot of people who don't. I don't think they kind of get it in a lot of ways. And, again, when you listen to the industry, they're going to tell you one thing. But let's talk about, what are the more common types of cancer in the States? And again, what does the medical pharmaceutical industry say is the solution to cancer? Like, what's the general picture?
Cut, poison, and burn, man. I mean, it must be a malfunction that we could just cut out, poison out, or just burn it away. When in reality, most of the time when they do a surgery, that doesn't mean they ever fix the cause of the problem. When they give the person chemotherapy, I mean, you got to realize that the nurses that are putting the needle in your arm, they're going to inject you with this mustard gas and poison, have to wear gloves and basically a mask and stay away from it because it's so toxic. Yet we're going to put that directly into the bloodstream, and somehow that's going to make you get better, when in reality it's just eradicating every cell that it touches. And then, oh, hey, Emmett, I'd like to have you come into my office. I want to shoot a series of 15 or 20 chest x-rays. What do you think? You'd be like, no, because radiation causes cancer. Yet we're going to shoot radiation at your breast, your lungs, or your thyroid and expect you to not develop uterine or testicular cancer down the road.
Mental.
Genius.
Yeah. So what about you said about the chemicals that they're using and stuff, or is the chemo, is it the same kind of method as chemo or a different method?
Well, first of all, chemo came out of, I believe it was World War II, when they were using mustard gas. And what was happening was that they were chucking mustard gas at the enemies, and they were finding out that people's hair was falling out, and they concluded that mustard gas actually kills rapidly growing cells. So in all of their genius, the AMA, the American Medical Association, said, oh, cancer is a fast-growing cell. We could hit it with mustard gas and kill it. So down the road, here comes chemotherapy, which is the most toxic substance you can possibly put in the body. If it's not toxic to the body, then why do people lose their hair and look like they're dying and feel like they're dying and vomit every single time they put it in the body? It's another one of the lies, man. Like, how can you possibly think you're going to get healthier by poisoning yourself?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and from what I know as well of cancer, it's like the medical, again, the pharmaceutical industry, they have their certain things that they make money off, but really when you look at cancer, the best way of dealing with it is prevention. Prevention is better than cure, looking after your diet, keeping the toxins out of the body, and even turning to things like, making sure you get your vitamin D, or your vitamin D and your cannabis oil or whatever, things like that. And, to try hemp oil to try to, neutralize the cancer in other ways. But the medical profession is not going to tell you about those because they don't make money off them, right?
No. And let's just say we could figure out, okay, your cancer is, all sickness and disease, doesn't matter what the name is, it's derived from a deficiency and or a toxicity. Your body either has too much of something or not enough of something. And so let's say your cancer is caused by too much of the certain lotion and products that you wear in your body. It's full of parabens and sodium lauryl sulfate and propylene glycol. And let's just say we could actually determine that it's that. And it's the fact that you wear an antiperspirant, sweat never leaves your armpit, toxins are piling up. I mean, the most simplistic thing in the world to do would be just to change your personal care products and go to a deodorant, not an antiperspirant. Like, that's just entry level stuff, but it's not even in the book. I went to a chemotherapy orientation meeting with a patient of mine about 6 or 7 years ago, and I'm sitting in this room, and I mean, there's brain cancer and breast cancer and abdominal, I mean, all kinds of cancer, and they give everybody this book, and I'm like, what the hell is this book? It's literally it's this thick, and it's I kid you not, it's the what to expect with chemotherapy. It's literally all the side effects, all the stuff that can happen, a book. Never once did they say anything about proper nutrition. Oh, you need to meet with our nutritionist. You know what the nutritionist said? It's okay to eat McDonald's. You need to keep your body full. So we just need to make sure you have an appetite. So eat whatever you want. That's literally what she said to my patient.
That's crazy stuff, because as well, you know, when we looking into cancer, we know that cancer cells love sugar. And maybe one of the better ideas is to stick somebody on the ketogenic diet, you know, give them some, vitamin D and the hemp products and stuff, and just get them to knock it off. But there's other solutions there that are much, much more efficient, and in the long run, they'll actually help your health overall.
I would argue that the majority of cancer that is treated the conventional way, if somebody did nothing but improve their nutrition and start exercising, the majority of that cancer would probably go away.
Yeah.
I mean, it would heal, or it would be a tumor that they lived with forever. Their body would wall it off, and they would have cancer the rest of their life, but they wouldn't die from it. The majority of people don't die from cancer. Cancer itself does not kill you. It's the fact that you don't fix what's causing it. So the cancer gets so big and keeps spreading that finally there's more cancer in your lungs than there is regular healthy tissue, and your lungs fail. It gets to another organ, and the organ fails. Cancer doesn't kill you. It's the treatment of cancer, or the fact that you never stopped living the lifestyle that caused it, and it's got so big that it became such a burden that part of your body could not function anymore.
Yeah, this is one of the key areas, I think, cancer health-wise, that people need to wake up to what you just said. Because when you go to the medical industry, they have their, you have this symptom, this symptom, this symptom, we have this treatment, this treatment, this treatment. They have their procedures, and that's all there is to it. But like you were saying there, people, they get diagnosed with a cancer, they're not removing the causes. And on top of that, they're getting chemo and whatever else done, radiation therapy, that will hammer their immune system even more, like just when they need it the most. And then the sugar one as well. If people keep eating the same diet they have on top of all of that, they're really gonna go downhill.
You know what, dude? If someone came to my office with cancer and they would do what I asked them to do, we remove interference between the brain and the body so the body can communicate with itself and heal at a higher level. We take out all of the cancer's fuel, which is the sugar. We have the person exercise so they get more oxygen in their body, which cancer cannot live in the presence of oxygen. We have the person remove quite a bit of stress and emotional trauma and issues in their life. And then we begin to look at where in their life is there toxins that are poisoning the body, and the body has to react to that instead of work on killing cancer. We do those 5 things. I mean, I think I'm a cancer expert all of a sudden, because it's not that hard, but it's just that people are so stuck that there's no way it could be that easy, when in reality it is.
Yeah, and it doesn't need to be that way. Like, I feel bad for people who've gone through cancer and things like that, who don't have that panoramic view of the whole thing. They just follow the advice straight away. There are other options out there for people, and other kind of alternatives to work around this. And it could be a confidence thing as well.
There's even what's called a chemosensitivity test, so that they can literally test different types of chemotherapy to see which one is best at killing your cancer, and then only use that one and target that towards the cancer. But that would cost more money and take the doctor more time than just dropping an atomic bomb in the system. So, I mean, there's things in medicine that are actually better than what they've been doing, but that's not going to be what they tell everybody, because that's not easy.
Yeah. And that's the industrial side of it as well. That I suppose whether a place is understaffed or not, or some facility is understaffed or not, it becomes that way eventually. It becomes industrious, where the solutions that are given out are just about what's quicker and everything, and it's not personalized enough. And again, without the diet element to the whole thing, they're really they're ignoring such a large part of it. And, for the last, section then, I suppose, if we talk about the psychological side of health, because it really is down to free will. If people looked after themselves and had a different attitude, they wouldn't probably bring a lot of different sicknesses on themselves, and they wouldn't need help. So, I mean, what do you think is the best strategy for a person to just stay healthy in general?
I'm writing a book called You Are the Doctor. And, you know, physicians and doctors lash out at me, and they don't like the title of the book. They don't like that I'm empowering people to not require doctors. Outside of crisis and emergency care, there's no reason why my family would ever need to go to a doctor. My kids don't have a pediatrician. Why would a child need a pediatrician? So that he or she can tell you how big the kid is? Like, I can measure him and weigh him, right? And look it up online. But I'm sorry, I got sidetracked. What was the question?
No, I was just saying about general advice for people to keep them out of the red, keep them away from bad advice and the industry kind of.
You're right. It is a mindset. And the problem is that people have a fixed mindset. And a lot of times people who get a diagnosis, they like we talked about in the beginning, that there's no hope. And so when you have a diagnosis and the doctor tells you can't do anything, you start to develop an identity around the diagnosis. And ultimately, that's when you're really stuck. And so before you are ever sick, before you ever have a diagnosis or a disease or a problem, I think you need to develop an identity around being a healthy, empowered person. And you need to understand that you were designed, whether you believe in God or whatever you believe in, the fact that you went from 2 cells to trillions without your mom having to say a word, I mean, there's something going on there. Mm-hmm. And there's this intelligence in the body that has been here longer than you and me. It's smarter than you and I will ever be. And the same intelligence that makes your heart beat, your lungs breathe, your food digest, and if you have a cut, it heals, right? We have this amazing gift called innate intelligence, and we forget, as soon as we're in a pinch, we forget that that's what's going on. And so as soon as my child has a fever, I freak out, and I go into this, what do I do mode, instead of going, wait a second, what's the body trying to do? As soon as I have a symptom, and I even get caught up in this sometimes because the patient will come in and say, I've got this symptom. And I all of a sudden I go, wait, don't treat the symptom, remove the interference and let the body, because there's a symptom for a reason. So if people can start to understand and just put a little more trust, I would say faith, but I don't want people to go, oh, well, I don't believe in God, and then I can't. It's trust. It's certainty. If you don't recognize the amazing thing that's going on in your body right now and all the stuff that's happening, then you need to open your eyes to what's the gift that's already been given. And once we understand that intelligence and what it's capable of, we can start to test it and watch your child that has a fever. And when you don't do anything, they actually get better. And they actually got better 2 days sooner than they did last time I pumped them full of Dayquil or whatever the cold medicine was. But I just challenge everybody to start recognizing that we have a natural inborn ability to heal. And if we can get closer to letting that run the show, we're going to get farther away from sickness and disease.
Yeah, absolutely. And so there's already a mechanism in there to kind of fix things anyway. And it's people just interfering with that process, I suppose, is the problem. And what's your view on, because I know in the States, Ireland is a Western country and, you know, there are similarities, but I know that over there, like, you know, because it's bigger, you've got more corporate, you know, the food industry on a bigger scale, trying to influence people and stuff like that. I mean, what's it like over there, the attitude towards diet and things? Because, you know, the junk food culture, the junk food section of the culture must play a big role in this as well.
Well, the problem is that everybody wants to do a diet. First three letters of the word diet, right? And so everybody wants to do a diet, and it lasts about a week, maybe a month. They lose weight, and then they gain it right back. I know people that have lost 1,000 pounds, and they still weigh the exact same. So the issue, regardless of where we're at in the world, we've got to adapt a way of eating that is a lifestyle, something we can stick to. I can stick to the way I eat. I don't even know what is available in Ireland. I haven't been able to get there yet. But I can go to Ireland, Australia, New Zealand, Africa, Mexico, and the States, and I can stick to my way of eating and my lifestyle no matter where I'm at because it's not a diet, right? And so clearly it's not working in the United States. 30% of people are obese, and over 40% of people are considered overweight. That's crazy. It's worse than it's ever been. Yet we have more diabetes drugs, more insulin, we have more diet foods, we have more diet soda, we have more diet plans. So again, just like everything else when it comes to health in my country, it's broken, it doesn't work the way it's supposed to, but it feeds right into pharmaceutical companies making money. I'm not opposed. So let's go there. At least in my country, there is a triangle that is government, pharma, FDA, CDC, and it does that kind of a thing. Everybody feeds off of each other. And so 30 to 50 years ago was when this low-fat movement came out, and people started getting fatter and fatter, and government started subsidizing corn and wheat and soy and all the food that ultimately make people fat, all the sugar stuff. We didn't start supplementing or making it easier for people to access fruits and vegetables. No, we want to make it easier for them to access bread and pasta and rice. So I'm not beyond the belief or thought that the government, with subsidizing everything, has created a culture of obesity so that pharma has an absolute customer that has to buy metformin and insulin, and they have a guaranteed profit. If we can get on board with the fact that that's a long play, but it's not out of the question that that could be something that was planned and has been executed very well, then why could we not get on board with the fact that the government is mandating vaccinations, which is leading to different sickness and disease, and ultimately creating more pharmaceutical customers down the road?
Yeah, I remember that. That was Hoover? Not Hoover. Sorry, he was the FBI director. Nixon, President Nixon, was involved with that, I believe, in the 60s or whatever, where they decided to pretty much promote was a high fructose corn syrup. I remember Robert Lustig talking about that, and it's in everything. That stuff is in all foods. Well, most foods.
Nixon's the same guy that said, "We're going to wage war on cancer," and that went really well too.
Yeah, well, no, this has been cool, and I like hearing different perspectives on the health issue. And we're at the end now, unfortunately, time wise, but we should probably do another one at some stage and maybe go into a different area. I've got lots of other stuff I'd like to get your thoughts on. But for now, anyway, well, I hope things go well in the business, and you continue to do your work and try to get the message out there to get people to look after themselves instead of just trusting and looking for the quick fix too much.
My next project that I'm working on, I've shifted the schedule in my office so I have more time to get it done. But I'm going to call it Vaccine 180 Project, and so I should have it done and out in less than 90 days. But I'm going to go through every single vaccination, and I'm going to rip it, just review, ridicule, and give resources in 180 seconds. And then we're going to supplement with a bunch of different videos throughout there. And the whole idea is to be able to take someone's current perception of vaccinations and do a 180. And I'm going to turn it into a digital download so that anywhere in the world, you don't have to go to a mailbox. You just click on it and it's ready. And then I'm going to make some of it in Spanish. That way we can reach people in other parts of the world, and have some of it where you can just share it off. And then I think the cool thing with it is too, all the main points in each of the videos that I'm talking about where you go, oh man, wow, I never even knew that. Oh, that was cool. You're going to be able to print out those points with the reference below it. So you could go up and talk to your friend and say, hey, now I'm ready to have that conversation about vaccinations because I got all my ammunition sitting right here. Again, I'm not here to convert to convinced, right? I'm just here to give the reasonable people a rock to stand on and something that they can use for an understanding of which direction do they want to go.
Yeah, exactly. You gotta, you all you can do is present the information and try to tell the truth as best you can, and then let people make the right decisions with their own free will choice, which we all have, because ultimately you can't take someone by the hand and walk them around all day and, tell them what to do like a child. Like ultimately people are adults and they have to make up their own minds, and you can just give them the information and let them decide.
Yeah, and I want people to not have as much fear. Um, I think that when people are afraid, they make irrational decisions. And if they can understand health better, they can give themselves some time to really educate and empower themselves. So if we can get to a point where we're not so afraid of disease, but instead we're focused on getting healthy, we're going to get somewhere.
Cool, well said. Yeah, I like the sound of that. That's great, Doctor. Great. Best of luck with that new initiative. It sounds interesting and exciting, and it's also very noble work as well. So, best of luck with that. But for now, anyway, Dr. Baker, thanks very much for your time.
Thanks, man. Have a great day, Emmett.
You too. Thanks. You are watching Resolving Reality, and that was my conversation with Dr. Stephen Baker, a chiropractor based at Prehab Health and Performance in Idaho in the US. And make sure you check out Dr. Baker's YouTube channel by using that link down below. But before you do that, subscribe to Resolving Reality and visit the resolvingreality.com website for all of our social media links and profiles, and have a listen to the Resolving Reality podcasts as well. So thanks again until the next time, and enjoy Resolving Reality.